Okay, thanks. All right. Thanks, Jam, for the invitation to come and talk to everyone here. Some new faces, but also some faces I know. So it's great to be able to come into the community and talk a little bit about Foster Club. My name is Celeste Bodner. I'm the executive director of the organization. I'm also the founder of Foster Club. I want to start off by talking a little bit about what does it mean to be in foster care. So some of you all, I'm sure, would be familiar. It means a new home, of course. But for young people, it also means separation from their family, new schools, lost pets, government vehicles, living with strangers, often the loss of belongings, people asking questions, disconnection from schoolmates sometimes, court systems, vulnerability, and grief. Thank you. So while we know that the foster care system is an important safety net in our society, it's also a really tough experience for young people who have to experience the foster care system. And so that's where Foster Club comes in. And before I tell you about what Foster Club does, I'm going to give just a very brief background about myself and how I got into it. I actually grew up in Seaside. Went to school here up until high school, and then we moved to the Portland area. My husband and I, early in our marriage, we were flipping real estate in North Portland, and we met two boys in our neighborhood, age 11 and 13, Gary and Terry. They actually were the kids of a guy that worked for my husband. And as it turns out, they were hanging around the job site because they didn't have stability at home. They didn't have a place to go back to. And so after a while, they were hanging out during school days. It was obvious they weren't going to school. I was feeding them. I had not met the mother. And so at that point, started reporting to CPS. And the boys also ended up staying at our house unexpectedly because we couldn't find people in the community, we couldn't find their family to return them to. So we reported to CPS reluctantly because we saw the same news stories that people see about foster care. The boys were taken into foster care, and they named my husband and I, who were 26 at the time, as the most reliable people in their lives. And so we were asked to become emergency foster parents, which to me sounded great because I was a coach. That was my volunteer activity at the time, as I coached youth sports. And I'm like, sweet, well, I'll get to fix up a bedroom, and it'll be like a little slumber party, and we'll have this 11 and 13-year-old come into the house. That's what we thought. They told us it would be for 60 to 90 days. Gary and Terry spent the rest of their childhood with us, and they grew up with us. But at that time, I remember when they entered our home, I didn't know anything about foster care. I actually worked in marketing prior to that. When they came into our house, I remember being struck by the fact that my husband and I received so much information about how foster care works, how to navigate the system. We received 40 hours of emergency training to become parents in this foster care system. And Gary and Terry didn't receive a flyer, a brochure. They just had no information. I thought, how unfair is that? We're entering the system as parents. They're entering as kids. They ought to have some information about how this system works. So Foster Club was started based on that idea as a place for young people to access information about the system they were entering, also to find peer support from other kids going through the same experience. So what Foster Club does is we work at how to make foster care not suck. That's what we work on. And so we do two things to make that happen. We provide direct support to the young people themselves, and then we also organize and elevate their voices to change how the system works. The magic sauce is in our approach. I think this is our magic sauce. The magic sauce is that we engage people with lived experience. We call them lived experience leaders, who are young people between the ages of 18 and 26 who do the work of the organization. So we train them and we support them to go out and do things in the community across the country, and they regularly speak to Congress about changing the laws in foster care. We have a network of about 230 lived experience leaders across the country. So as a national organization, we sort of started differently than some organizations start. We started at the national level, but we've enjoyed all this time a great relationship with the Oregon Department of Human Services. For the last 23 years, we've actually put on camps and conferences for young people who are experiencing foster care. We also do a lot of work for youth who are aging out of the system, like preparing to leave foster care into adulthood on their own, which needs a lot of help and support. We've been working with them for about 12 years on that issue. We actually were the people that the state of Oregon contracted out to give pandemic relief during recent COVID, because a lot of young people really struggled, especially those who had just left foster care. So we were the relief organization. As we've grown, we've wanted to be able to dig a little bit deeper into communities. And this is where Clatsop County comes in. We would like to be able to do more work in a county-based work, so that we can reach more kids within a county and connect them into FosterClub, connect them to other kids who have experienced foster care, and get them the resources they need to thrive. What we would propose to do is to develop a pilot of outreach tools and materials. So that might look like, we have some tools, for instance, these are some coloring books that explain foster care to kids. We have both English and Spanish. We have publications for youth who are planning to transition out of foster care. So what that might look like is that we might put tools in the local DHS offices, like a FosterClub wall or bookshelves. So we'd work with the DHS offices. We'd also work with foster and adoptive parents to make sure they have tools to expose their kids to this network that exists. And our goal would be to increase the number of Clatsop County kids by 300%, so that we're reaching the majority of kids in Clatsop County with the tools and support that they need, and particularly the peer support. And it would be a pilot that we then would ramp up and share across Oregon to other counties. So whatever would be done here, we would expand to other counties eventually. So thank you.
We can have 2 minutes of questions.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Do you work with CASA?
Yes, we love CASA. So CASA actually is the place that we refer people when people want to get engaged in. It's a little bit tough because foster care, a lot of people think foster care is taken care of by the government, which is partially true, but not all of the stuff can be taken care of by the government. And so a lot of people want to get involved, and we direct them to CASA, but it's, as you might know, a big time commitment to become a CASA member. So we also open up opportunities for people to get involved at lower levels. And that's one of the things we're looking at trying to do in community-based work. Yeah.
So where are you based?
Yeah, so we're a national organization, but our headquarters are in Seaside, our national headquarters. So we're on the avenue, on the corner. Started the whole thing across the country, yep. We have a network of about 50,000 young people across the country. Yes, and we're the go-to nationally. We're the go-to organization to hear from young people who experience foster care. So yes, our national headquarters is on G and Holiday, but again, which is a little bit fun. It's because I moved here, right? My husband and I, after we had Gary and Terry and had our own child, we decided if I was going to give up sort of my other work and live where we wanted to live, where we wanted to, and that's here in Clatsop County. So we moved to Seaside in 2000 after FosterClub started receiving some funding and knew it was going to be a going effort. But this is our national headquarters. We have young people. We have about 24 interns that come in each summer at these lived experience leaders, and we train them and support them right here in Seaside. Yeah. Yes.
Can you say a few words about kids aging out?
Oh, a few words. I don't know if I can do a few words. Yeah, kids aging. I mean, I guess the best explanation is, so during this pandemic, I have grown kids now myself, and during the pandemic, they moved back home, right? I had one that was at University of Oregon, and everything shut down, and they moved home. And so I think a lot of us can identify what that's like, and that's always what it's like for kids who age out of foster care. They do not have the safety net that most kids who have family privilege have, and so when a little thing goes wrong, everything falls apart and goes wrong when kids age out of foster care. And so what FosterClub has been doing to try to rectify that is to increase the age where support can happen and to help prepare those young people so that they can plan for themselves. We're a youth empowerment organization, so we really believe in the idea that young people can do for themselves if you give them the resources and the right supports. Okay. I'm not sure.
Thank you. I know, it's hard to cut off, isn't it? But these people are available afterwards to find out what you can do to help them as well, you know, for more information. This is your phone.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Looks like my phone.